Welcome to the CannMed Coffee Talk podcast, where we talk with the leading minds in cannabis science, medicine, cultivation, and safety testing. I am your host, Ben Amirault. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at Medicinal Genomics and proud member of the team that puts on the CannMed Summit. Well, our CannMed Advisory Board is hard at work reviewing all the great abstract submissions that we've received for CannMed 25. Our goal is to have all of our oral presenters selected by the end of the year and to announce them in January. So stay tuned for those announcements. We are also working on a number of great workshops that we will be announcing very soon. So if you have not already, sign up for email alerts at canmedevents.com so you don't miss any of those and other announcements. Also, if you are planning to join us at CannMed 25 next June in Puerto Rico, be sure to purchase your ticket package today and take advantage of our discounted early bird rate. Find more details at canmedevents.com. Our guests today are Ed Leclere and David McKillop. Ed and David have teamed up to create High Science, a new TV series premiering on YouTube today, November 27th. And that features Medicinal Genomics and CannMed. David is an Emmy-award-winning producer with an impressive background in creating hit shows like Duck Dynasty and Pawn Stars. He brings his storytelling expertise to the cannabis space, teaming up with Ed to launch a show that is as entertaining as it is informative. High Science promises to take viewers on a journey through the world of cannabis, focusing on its therapeutic potential, the people who grow it, and the science that drives it forward. During our conversation, we discuss Ed's personal health journey and how it inspired the show's creation, the show's goal of making the medical science of cannabis more accessible to the public and reducing cannabis stigma, the challenges that cannabis entrepreneurs face in the form of strict regulations, financial challenges, and the thriving black market, how the series uses personal storytelling to balance education and entertainment, why YouTube was chosen for its global reach and creative freedom compared to traditional networks, and a glimpse into future seasons, which may explore other plant medicines, such as mushrooms. Before we get to my conversation with Ed and David, I'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, High Science TV. High Science TV shares the lively exploits of colorful characters around the world, trailblazing all things cannabis in pursuit of the modern-day gold rush. Father-son hosts Rich Battenberg Jr. and Richard Rick Battenberg III explore legendary seed gurus, relentless cultivators, expansive growers, pioneering product makers, and imaginative dispensary owners as they break the barriers of this new frontier. The storytelling unmasks the mystical powers of the ancient cannabis plant and its innumerable uses through dynamic entertainment. High Science premieres on YouTube November 27th at youtube.com at High Science TV. Okay, and without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Ed Leclere and David McKillop. Good morning, Ed and David. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, I'm excited to talk with both of you today about High Science, a new TV series premiering on YouTube today, November 27th. And it features Medicinal Genomics and CannMed. The series takes viewers on a journey through the world of cannabis, focusing on its therapeutic potential, the people who grow it, and the science that drives it forward. An ambitious project, to say the least. So, with that said, Ed, what inspired you to create High Science, specifically about cannabis, and why now?
You know, back in 2018, I had acoustic neuroma surgery. And if anybody knows what that is, that's a tumor in the brain that's connected to your basically everything. After surgery, I spent 33 days in ICU and had some issues. And the medicine I was on, I did not like. I also believed when they did the surgery was, I don't know, 10, 12 hours, whatever it was. Uh, they said it was easier to remove. It was more cyst-like than the tumor. And I believe that when I found out I had this problem, I just smoked a lot of weed because I heard it was great for cancer and tumors and blah, blah, blah. And the list goes on. So I smoked a lot of weed, and I believe that's what made it easier to remove. The doctor doesn't think so, but that's medical versus a cannabis guy. And I had this idea for a show. And because I wanted other people to understand what cannabis was all about, and managed to, through a friend, meet the infamous David McKillop, who's now my partner, and I don't know what I would do without him. I think we make a great team. And he asked me, "Do you really think we could do this?" And I said, "I do, David." And he goes, "Who's going to own the IP?" And I said, "You and I. We're not going to sell it to a network. We're going to do everything ourselves." And he said, "Let's go." He comes from the television world, and we set out on a road to find the most incredible OG entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry, from medical genomics, being the top lead scientists in the country and around the world, to the little guy that produces seeds. We wanted to really showcase these incredible entrepreneurs and the incredible work that they're doing with this plant. And I gave all these puzzle pieces to David. And here we are, getting ready to launch the show today, the 27th. 8 weeks, David took this and built one hell of a beautiful puzzle. This show is going to be great, not only informative, educational, entertaining. It's all right there.
Excellent. Yeah. And David, tell us a little bit about your background and what got you involved in the project.
Well, you know, I've spent most of my life as a television programmer. I've headed up programming departments at National Geographic, Discovery Channel, History, A&E. I ran A&E as the general manager. So I've spent most of my life producing programs, everything from Deadliest Catch at Discovery to Storage Wars, Pawn Stars, and Duck Dynasty at History and A&E. So I've been doing this most of my life. And when I'd met Ed, I kind of left the network. You can't program a net. There's a certain limit to what you can do in terms of your age and everything. So it's time to let the other people come in and program. But I had a great run and loved what I was doing. And I was looking for my next thing. So when Ed approached me, I was skeptical, to be quite honest with you. To me, it was like, oh fuck, am I allowed to say that? Is that that I'm not going to just sit here and do some kind of stoner show. That's just not what I smoked. I smoked some weed when I was a kid. In fact, when I was growing up, we actually smoked weed. We didn't really drink. I never even drank until after college. But anyway, I started to meet some of the people Ed had rounded up in this group, and I started to do some research, and I suddenly realized, wow, the people's perception of the cannabis industry is still squarely in this idea of a recreational drug. Mm-hmm. And the government and big pharmaceutical companies all would love to have you think that. But what we soon discovered, where Ed had shown some light and I did some discoveries, is that quite the opposite. I mean, up prior to World War II, cannabis was the go-to treatment for up to 100 different ailments. It was also the main treatment for pain before aspirin. So we began to discover that the relationship of human evolution and cannabis evolution is tightly bound, and it's somehow gotten lost. I have my theories on why. A lot of it probably is people don't have patents on it and can try to make a lot of money off of it. But anyway, so I thought, you know what? I'll take this. I'll take this on. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of passion in someone like Ed, and we met some of the people and the characters in the show, and we worked hard, and we all chipped in. We weren't paid. This was kind of it became a passion for me, and because I know how many people can benefit from it. And the most important thing is that people there have been lots of stories about people overdoing it or going into emergency rooms, and that's because there's no information. There's no trusted source of information. The government doesn't want to tell you anything. Pharmaceutical companies don't want to tell you anything. So people are basically finding out for themselves how many gummies it takes.
Right.
And that's a disaster. An uneducated population is not going to really be able to fully embrace what cannabis can do for the human body. And since no one else is going to do it, Ed and I decided that we're going to do it. And the first step in this was to create the High Science TV show, which is going to be an anthology series. So this first series is we're following a family of investors, but our second, third, we could be doing something totally different. But the goal here is to educate people at the same time and have a lot of fun. So that's how I kind of got involved in it.
Excellent. No, and your story is not unique. To enter the industry or the topic skeptical, but then dig into the actual information and be made a believer. We hear it all the time on the podcast. We hear it at the conferences all the time. So I think it's great that you're bringing this to more people so we can have more believers out there and get more great information into the hands of folks.
And I think people are going to see it's trusted information. There's so much, what is real anymore? And so, or what can you trust to be real information or truth? And so what we've relied on is, rather than lecturing people about what we think it is we've just followed the stories of individuals. People tell their own stories from, veterans who were in very dark places, who literally stumbled across cannabis that was changing their lives. People aren't going to lie about that. So our show is really testimonials wrapped up in a wonderful narrative. And so it's not preachy. We're not here creating a documentary with a voice of God that's telling people they have to know about this stuff. It's actually, you're experiencing the journeys of a lot of individuals as they come to the realization of what cannabis can do, responsible use of cannabis can do.
Sure. Now, and you've said that it's the blending of educational content with entertainment. Were there challenges in making science and cannabis accessible to a broader audience?
Yeah, I mean, look, well, there's certain limitations in terms of broadcast. It's what we were doing 10 years ago would have put us in the federal penitentiary. But look, storytelling is our way of that is the secret to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never change anybody's mind by throwing facts at them, but you will convince people by telling them a good story. The most obvious example, OJ's trial, right? I mean, the defense had every single fact. It was an open and shut case. And all they did was they presented the facts. OJ's attorneys turned around and just gave a better story. And the jury went with that. So this idea that we tell, as human beings, we thrive the most in terms of learning and educating it during play and storytelling. So how do we find the narrative and the arc? That's that's what took Ed and I so long. But once we found the narrative, then it just fell into place. It's probably never going to be able to air on a cable channel because there are just too many standards and practices issues. It's still illegal on the federal level. Advertisers have has lots of reservations, but in some ways, I think that's a mark of courage. And I think people like to see that, especially Americans. We're leading the charge, kind of pioneers, you know. Uh,
and the beauty is when you look at our cast members, they're being supported and backed up with incredible people like Kevin McKernan, one of the owners of Medicinal Genomics, Dee Dee Muir, who I think I just couldn't get enough of Dee Dee when I was interviewing him. He said some things that just blew me away. Ethan Russo, again, we were all at CannMed, and that's the place you really need to go. And you guys have really supported what our cast members in the show are doing. And David just hit the nail on the head when he put all these pieces together.
It's really, look, the information is there. You guys have done the most amazing work in the research. And there are lots of simple concepts that the average person doesn't know or understand. And it's something as simple as that, when you inhale cannabis, there's only I think it's 40%, 30%, or even less is actually metabolized into your body. But when you eat something, it can be upwards of higher of 90%, which is why eating too much, and it takes longer. So what's the difference between indoor grows and outdoor grows? Mm-hmm. What is the benefit of a rainbow effect of cannabinoids and terpenes? So once you start to learn all that stuff, you begin to sense, wow, there's something here. I mean, it actually goes back to challenge the way that the medical system works now, where they use a very sharp focus of one very specific drug for one very specific symptom. Cannabis, they're beginning to understand, as you know, and this is what these stories we're going to be telling is, it's a fabric of medicinal uses that attack it as a group. So we're going from a single shot to a shotgun approach, right? Exactly. And that's very, very that has enormous promise in terms of medical treatments. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, all that stuff. But what I'm getting at, I get excited about it, but then my job is to make the audience get excited about it, because if they get excited about it, they can then, they can go back and educate their doctors. Because we're not going to see, here's an interesting statistic. 70% of the income for broadcast and cable television comes from the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow.
That's where their ad revenue, that's where their revenue is coming. And so that's when if you ever know who does, I don't know who watches the news anymore, but if you do watch CBS or ABC News, try it one night, broadcast, every single commercial is a drug. There are only 2 countries in the entire world that allow the drug companies to advertise. That's the United States and New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Every other country in the world, it is banished. The drug companies spend more money advertising than they do on R&D. Wow. So, so we're up against a monster here. Mm. And so it's no pun intended. It's really, this is where Ed convinced me, it's a grassroots duty here to get people educated on the potential of cannabis. Now, cannabis isn't the cure-all. It's not going to change the entire world, but it is certainly a safe and organic alternative to a lot of the traditional ways now that medicine is being practiced. And our job is to educate people and then let them make their own decision. We're not pushers, no pun intended again. Mm-hmm. We're educators. And as you know, there's a lot of potential. And also the other thing is we only know, what was it, Ed? How many cannabinoids are there in a plant? Something like 48 or something, or 100. I forget what the number was.
He would know better than us, because
but we don't.
I don't even think we fully know.
We don't know, and we only know about a fraction of those.
Right? Isn't it like 200 we only know about so far?
but like, yeah. So
And then
there's
in
so
terms
much more
of
to learn.
yeah, and then in terms of how many are actually tested for too, it's even a smaller portion of that.
Yeah. So there's a vast body of knowledge that still needs to be discovered, and so getting people excited about that will help them, encourage others and encourage their doctors and lawmakers to not just run away from this kind of misrepresentation of a very powerful drug. One of our main characters, or one of our characters, is a guy named John Piasecki. I
Hmm.
don't know if you know John.
You
He's
know.
a he's a grower up in Massachusetts. I refer to him as kind of Mr. Natural meets Thomas Jefferson. He is just he's a genius, but he's also just an amazing man and has incredible knowledge. And his whole piece is that he believes that the cannabis plant really has a coevolution with humanity. And
Mhm.
the same way that the dog became the one mammal that co-evolved with humans, he firmly believes that the cannabis plant, which can be traced back to the earliest known uh, human interactions, actually evolved in a similar way with humans. Um, and so that there's a tremendous amount of power in that potentially.
No, I think you're
I,
absolutely right.
I, I started rambling. I'm sorry. Ed got me all excited about this, and now I can't stop talking about it.
No, it's great. Your passion definitely comes through. And I think you touched on a lot of great points there. And one of them being that, I mean, for a lot of us in the industry, we take a lot of this information for granted and assume that it's common knowledge, but it really isn't. So having a show like this that's more accessible to the general public so that they can start understanding what we already know, is very powerful.
Well, I had that.
the
I ran up against that one at the History Channel. When we first took over history, there was a lot of criticism that we were showing shows that weren't really about history. And I thought, well, everything we do is about history. But what we did find was that it in how television is a wonderful means of expressing emotion. It is a terrible means of giving information.
Hmm.
But if you tell, as I say, if you have, it's a great emotional. That's like you see a cotton commercial and you cry, right? I mean, so it has it triggers people. And the most successful thing we did at history was that it wasn't so much that we were just reciting like a historical encyclopedia. We just got people excited about history. And as they got excited about history, we went from the number 34 network up to number 3. And people knew where you get them excited about American history, they go onto the internet and they learn about it. Here, if we get people excited about cannabis, they'll start doing their research. They'll come back to you. They'll find you. Rather than having to go to the conference, they'll be doing their own research because of their passion, and then they'll find you.
Excellent.
the other beauty about the show, a lot of people think that these entrepreneurs are just sitting back making boatloads of money.
Yeah.
Not true. They're fighting for their lives. The millions and millions of dollars that it takes to build an indoor grow, the amount of money that it takes to open a dispensary, not only the regulations you got, federal, state, county, parish, depending where you are, which is changing daily. And stick around, it'll change in the next 20 minutes. It's like, banks close you down for no reason, because we don't have safe banking in the industry. Because you work in the cannabis industry, you can't go buy a car, you can't buy a house, because you're using federally illegal money. Well, it's the same damn money that's in my pocket, that's in yours. I mean, the list goes on of what these poor guys, men and women in this industry, are fighting, and we touch on all of it in the show, to show people that, hey, it's not all champagne and popping corks. These guys are actually busting their butt because they believe so much in this plant, they're willing to do this. And that's what high science is all about, is showing all of it.
No, well said. I mean, there are a lot of things up against folks in the industry, not just the regulations, but you have the black market that they're competing with. And
Yep.
now with the farm bill and have all these loophole stores that are popping up with our hemp-derived cannabinoids, there's a lot of things, a lot of challenges facing the industry. And I think it's great that you guys are highlighting that. And obviously, those are topics we tried to dive into as well at the conference at CannMed, helping people kind of try to navigate this because it is a difficult industry.
The one
You
thing
know,
that
I
I found that when I tell people what we've been up to, and this is at dinner parties or friends' houses and all, is every single person has said, I just don't know much about it.
Mm.
And the other story is I find a lot of older people. I was at a neighborhood picnic the other day or a couple of months ago, and this couple said they were in their, I don't know, late 50s, and they said that they had heard about gummies, and so they decided they were going to take a gummy. So they took some gummies. Nothing happened. They took another one.
Mhm.
The woman said that 3 days later she was still thinking about going to the emergency room, and you know the the thing here is that if they had only known, that's what they said, they just didn't know anything about it. And so educating people, not only is it good for them in terms of empowering their wellness, but it's also a very important protection against irresponsible use. And there's no place to go. There's no consistency. It's not like you go and pick up a bottle of Tylenol and know exactly what to do, right?
Right.
So that's why it's so important to get the show on the air and to start generating interest, is that it's there to educate people. And an educated population on this stuff is going to be good for wellness, and it's going to be good for the cannabis business.
Well said. So let's talk a bit about, how is the show? What can people expect when they're watching the show? You mentioned that you kind of have some characters that tie all these different stories together. What does that look like?
Well, you have to have a thread. You have to have a thread and a story. And I've always been very successful with father-son relationships, whether it's Pawn Stars or Duck Dynasty. Multiple generations people tend to be able to relate to that. So in this particular season, we're following a group of a family of venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, as they look to expand their business in the cannabis world. And in doing so, we created their interactions with everybody from OGs to suits to scientists. And there's a bunch of hijinks that ensue, in terms of family dynamics, situational comedy, that kind of stuff. But that's all tied into the entertainment piece of it. But it's really just a skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hang on that skeleton, all of these other individuals, including John Piasecki, we've got this couple, Meg and Eric up in the Berkshires, who have been experimenting in retail to customers. We have Mo in Arizona, who he's kind of this. His mother was suffering, and so he invented a type of cannabis that's used for your skin. So we've tied all of these individuals into a storyline around this family that's out in search of increasing their knowledge and investments in the cannabis world. That's kind of how we did it. So as I say, it's not a lecture. It's kind of a reality series, but I think the reality is series are kind of misunderstood these days. But what it is it's very entertaining. It's watchable. It's easy on the eyes, but it's also really informative. And in fact, it's like you're getting that information on a secondary and tertiary level. You don't even know you're getting it because you're enjoying watching the show.
Right. So Ed, you were originally conceived of the idea. How does the finished product compare to your original vision?
When we were looking to
Well,
go
he
on,
fired me the first time.
I'm not the first person to get you fired.
No, I've been fired a lot.
the the thing is, when we were looking to put this on cable network, the show was so different from what I envisioned in the very beginning. Because when you go on cable, you can't show this, you can't show that. You're showing too many products. You go in a dispensary. Oh my God, you got to block all those names out. You can't show smoking. You can't show somebody taking a gummy. It's like all of a sudden you're doing a Seinfeld show, a show about nothing. So when we cut the cord, and David really got into uh, the characters and how they all intertwine together, he goes, I got it. I got it. And the show is exactly as I envisioned. Uh, David has had 100% creative control. Uh, I sit back and I really treasure his thoughts and ideas. And I'm super, super excited about it. And I just can't wait for everybody to see it.
In fact,
Honestly,
most of the people working on this series referred to Ed and I as the odd couple.
that
That's a
is
good
true.
thing.
It's a good thing, they kind of, we walk into a room and I'm usually got a suit jacket on and a button down shirt, and they kind of look at it and go, whoa, what is this? But we work together really well. So and I think it's because we share the same passion, which is to get people to understand the benefits of cannabis. It's a this is it's an important story to tell, and that's what we want to tell it.
Excellent. And now you've mentioned future seasons and maybe, working with different characters. Are there any, people on your wish list or dream collaborations or experts that you'd be interested in featuring in future seasons?
Yeah, we have. I mean, look, there's some of the people that we've met along the way in this season. We could spin off and do separate seasons. I think what it's going to become is an anthology series, meaning that High Science will come back season after season, and they'll have returning characters from different seasons, but there'll be maybe a totally different story being told. There is so much out there. Honestly, there's so much potential, and
There's
so we'd
truly
like
some
to,
spinoffs. There's some
yeah,
spinoffs in season
spin-offs.
one that we could spin offs and do their own series. I think they're strong enough to handle their own series. And as we spin them off, we can add new ones into new cast members into season two of High Science. And it's exciting to see this all come together.
And we're good. We made a conscious decision to go out on YouTube. I personally think YouTube is the future of what YouTube today is what cable was 25 years ago. It's where you go to learn about cooking shows that aren't competition shows and all the rest of it. So YouTube has a powerful reach into the everyday common person in America. And now, it's you don't have the marketing machinery behind what you would have at a network. But honestly, I think through social media and word of mouth, build it and they will come. And I think YouTube is really the perfect place for this. We got a lot of pushback from some of the characters in the show because they said this was going to be a TV show and it's going to be on, Netflix or some other thing like that. And but I remind them that right now YouTube is probably has the largest potential audience, and if we can manipulate social media to act as our marketing, I think it's the perfect spot for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, if my kids are any indication, YouTube is where it's at. That's all they want to watch is
Yeah.
YouTube.
When you sit back and you think it's worldwide,
Yep.
it's 78% of the people that stream by their handheld.
Hmm.
So, most people have cut the cord on the television. The beauty is not only can I watch YouTube on my handheld, but I also have the app on my television, and
Yep.
I can watch it on my TV as well.
Yep.
So
Or
it
on
gives
your
it,
your
yeah,
iPad.
your
So you have
iPad,
all
whatever
three.
it might be. So I think it's the perfect avenue for us. Now that's not to say we're not going to go out and sell the show or license a show in other countries and doing other things with it. Since we own the IP, we have that ability to do that, and that's exactly what we're going to do. But we're starting with YouTube, and we could not be more excited about it. And the people are really embracing it that we're telling. Some of our cast members kind of scratch their head, and some of them goes, "Oh, you guys are geniuses. This is perfect."
Excellent. So yeah, let's remind people where can they find the series, and yeah, where can
You
they
can,
find it?
you can go to YouTube, not YouTube TV, YouTube, and in the search column, go up and type in High Science TV. Go to our channel, subscribe, boom, watch the show. 4:20 afternoon on the 27th, which is today. In just a little short time, we're going to be popping champagne bottles because the show's coming on.
Excellent. Now, is it going to be all 8 episodes right from the start, or are you going to kind of drip them out?
Nope. The first two episodes are going to be on the 27th. So you're going to have episode 1 and 2. Then every Wednesday after that at 4:20 in the afternoon is another episode for 8 weeks.
Excellent.
We might take a couple weeks off, David. Am I right on that? Might take a couple
Yeah.
weeks off for the Christmas holidays, and kind of play some Christmas music or whatever we want to do. Show some, the jolly old Saint Nick taking a break, sitting down in a rocking chair, smoking a joint, relaxing. As he got some Christmas music in the background, but whatever. But I got the long white hair, so I can be jolly Saint Nick sitting there. But we're going to do something. And then the show will pick back up, and we're starting to put together season 2. So we're real excited about it.
Excellent. So, I mean, winding down here, I guess make one last pitch for the folks that are watching to watch the show, and how else can they connect with you guys and any other projects that you're working on?
You can go to highscience.com and sign up. If you sign up for the High Science Club, which doesn't cost you anything, we'll mail you a free pin. So you got a High Science official pin to show that you're part of the High Science community. We've started High Science 420 Mobile with some of the major mobile carriers. We're getting ready to launch High Science Travel Club to tell you all the really exciting and 420 open places that you can go to and vacation at. So it's all right there. And I guess the thing that I'm more passionate about than anything, not only the show, but we started the High Science Charity Foundation. And a percentage of all the merchandise, a percentage of our online store, as well as 420 Mobile, a percentage goes to our charity foundation, which is helping veterans with PTSD and mental health. David says it best. David, what's your line for the charity foundation?
I'm not sure. I forgot. I always come up with so many lines. I haven't had my 6 martinis.
Put them on the spot.
But we've started a bunch of different ways. Everything's at highscience.com. You can find out all about us. You can find out about all our cast members. You can read their bios. You can read David's bio and find out that this man right here is a Emmy-award-winning producer. He uses them to hold his doors open at his house. It's just exciting, the amount of people. And you're going to meet Kelly Mofo Moss, Johnny Greenfingers, Meg and Eric, Kevin McCarnell, and Brendan. The list goes on of all these cast members. and the incredible work they're doing in the cannabis industry. And I could not be more excited to be sitting on the side of David, watching our episodes as we go live.
And when we realize these things take time too, so we've managed our expectations. That's the other thing about YouTube. It's not like we're launching after a multi-million-dollar ad campaign and buses, ads on buses in New York City and billboards in LA. But I do believe it's like a diesel engine. It takes a while to get those guys up to speed, but once you hit your RPMs, they're almost impossible to stop. And so we're going to be manage our expectations, but we are 100% behind this, and everybody that we have been working with is 100% behind this. Everybody who, I have to say, shout out to all of us. No one has been paid for this. That's the other thing. People are doing this out of their passion to get this information across. And I think that when you do something like that and you have that type of passion and personal commitment, success may take time, but it's going to happen.
Absolutely. One thing I want to say, D.D. Muir, I keep going back to him. Incredible scientist, worked with McKillop, the father of cannabis in Israel. The list goes on. I asked Didi, I said, Didi, could you tell me the difference? Because season 1, we're in cannabis. Season 2, we might go into mushrooms. I don't know where we're going to go, but we need to explore. And he goes, Ed, sit back. I said, what's that, Didi? He goes, Ed, cannabis is the little village. He goes, but mushrooms is the kingdom. He goes, I'm telling you, just wait and see. So we're going to, no telling where season 2 is going to take us, but we're going to be exploring this plant medicine. It's got a lot to be said for what Mother Nature has put on this earth.
And I'm hoping also that people will see the show and then contact us, because I think it's just the tip of the iceberg of who we've there's been a lot of serendipity in terms of who we've been able to rope in and meet, but I'm hoping that the series will bring all kinds of interesting people out of the woodwork, and so it'll start to grow exponentially. And that's what's really going to be exciting. And I think it's also excited for the people we're showcasing in the series too. I mean, I think it's great. It puts a face to a lot of these products, and it actually puts a human face to the science. And that's kind of the basis of the series, is we're putting a human face with a human story on some really exciting and complex science.
Absolutely.
I hope we can help just one person through education in the show. I hope we can shed some light to our politicians that something needs to be done with federal legalization. I hope we can be instrumental in helping through the show with safe banking to really help these guys out in the industry. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I got everything crossed. Everybody loves the show, and we can bring some education and entertainment in people's lives with high science.
All right. Well, very exciting. We're very excited on our end to see the premiere later today. I'll have links to all the resources that we talked about in the show description, so people can easily find the show and find the website and everything that we talked about. And yeah, we're big supporters of the show, and we're definitely a part of it, and we'll continue to promote it in the coming weeks. Try to get as many eyeballs on it as possible.
Well, thank you for being a really fantastic partner as we made this series, and look forward to many more opportunities as we move forward.
Absolutely. I think we have a shared vision, and
we definitely do.
Village.
We definitely do.
Yeah. Grassroots.
All right. Thanks again, guys.
Okay.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much.